Today we are talking about breastfeeding tips, so come join me. So first of all, I'm going to get nice and comfortable. So I'm going to get a chair, have a little cushion, place it in the small of my back and have a sit down there. Now, this is my little baby for today. Breastfeeding, this little one, either side in terms of whichever side you're feeding on. You want baby up here. Now after a while your arms are going to get tired, your baby's going to get heavy and you're going to start coming down, and this is where your neck and shoulder problems are going to become more evident. So I really recommend having a breastfeeding cushion. So many different brands out there. This one is Physio4me, which I particularly like, if I put baby there, because it has two long strips which you can use. So I'll place that here, tie the back, and then the great thing is I can adjust it. Normal cushions you will place just on your lap and then feed baby. You still might have quite a gap and you might then try hip hitching or tiptoeing to kind of get that distance correct. So with this one, instead of doing that, I just bring it a little bit higher, pull it a little bit firmer, and then baby's comfortable there, and I can feed away quite happily using that little cushion, the small of my back, feet nice and level on the floor. I can sit here quite comfortably, and as baby gets bigger I can just readjust the cushion, have it lower, less holding and weight going through my arm each time I'm using it. So that's why I particularly recommend this one. The other reason I particularly find this one is good is that it's all well having a lovely space that you can breastfeed or even feed at home, but when you're out and about, what kind of position are you getting in then? So this little handy one ties up. You can pop it over your shoulder a bit like a handbag. You can pop it in the bottom of your pram basket or as a handle. It's got a little zip, so you could always just stick a nappy and a wipe in there, and literally that and your little baby is all you need. So I'll pop these both here. So with the breastfeeding, it varies, but most people do get leakage of the milk in between feeds. So you can get disposable breast pads, which just peel the back and stick into the inside of your bra, and then that way the padded bit is closest towards you to catch any milk seeping through to your top. I particularly this time have gone with the Cheeky White's reusable breast pads, slightly more canvas ones which are a bit more mouldable. So you can pop that one in there, or you can have a flat one which will then mould however you want it to be. Now these have really been helpful, depending on how often you want to change them really. I'm not sure what the recommended amount of time is with reusable ones, but I quite happily had these on all day without having to worry about changing them at all. And I did leak quite a lot, I did quite have a lot of milk. Definitely with the disposable ones you do need to change them regularly, especially if they're the ultra thin ones as well. I didn't find them bulky in terms of seeing them through my top or anything like that. So yeah, definitely give those a go. The other thing that I thought was a great investment, and I've used this with all three of my kids, is having a breast pump. So you can either have a manual or an electronic one. A manual one has a little handle here, so you press it with your hand to help you pump the milk. The electric one means you can plug it in, you hold the pump in place, and it does all the work for you. So this particular one, as I said, that we particularly liked is the Medela Swing, and this is what it looks like, and it simply just has the plug on the end to connect. So the way you use this is you would place it on your breast there, hold it firm, or you can put it on your cushion, then that way you're not having to hold it here for a while. And then you just simply press the top button, which is the on button, on-off button even. You've got a plus and minus, so you can adapt it to be to your kind of comfortability really. I personally crank it up and it's super fast. If that sensation is not particularly nice for you, then you can press the minus button and get it right. Yeah, so very personalizable in terms of comfort, I would definitely say. And this is very simple. Once you've finished expressing, you just simply twist the lid off and you've got all the milk there. You can feed through this bottle. I particularly would pour it into the Tommy Tippy bottles because I tend to use those. But yeah, that milk is ready to go. And then that can go back on. You can kind of wash that. If you don't want to feed straight away, or if you want to store some milk that you're going to use either later on in the day or actually in a few days or months time, you can do that either by using more bottles, but for space, these are super handy. They're called milk storage bags. These particular ones are by Tommy Tippy. Most brands do their own version. They don't necessarily need to be compatible with a certain brand because you're just pouring it in. And it's a clear plastic bag which has been sterilised, sterile in the middle. So this is the little packet. You've got the little tear bit at the top, so you simply rip that off. You've got the little clipper here, you open that, you pour your milk in. You use this little clipper here just to click, click, click and seal that up. Most of them will have a little section on the top, name, date, volume. This is particularly important because depending on what bottle you use, the measurement it says compared to what the measurement in the packet says might vary by maybe half an ounce or so. So I always write down how many ounces it is based on the bottle that I use. And then the date's really important because you can keep milk stored in the freezer for 4 months, 4 to 6 months, depends where you kind of read. So yeah, pop that away, stick it in the freezer, whenever you need it, bring it out, just let it sit in a either defrost on the side, or if you need it a little bit sooner, just put it in a little bowl of cold water or slightly lukewarm water, and it will just help melt and dissolve all the milk. You then get a pair of scissors, snip off the top, open those little clippers that we sealed, and pour that into your bottle, and that's ready to feed. So it's a great way to stack a few of these up in the freezer, so you've got them for when you want to go out and maybe you want someone else to help you, or at nighttime feeds. So definitely worth getting. They are a bit expensive, I personally think, especially as a one-time use, but definitely convenient for when you want to get rid of any extra milk, or planning for someone to help you. And then I just use a marker pen just to be able to write on the plastic and for it to not rub off in the freezer. So the date's really important and the volume really important, so you know exactly how much you're defrosting before you defrosted it. So I think that is roughly all I want to talk about in terms of my breastfeeding essentials. Hope you found that useful. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. I have an additional video on bottle feeding, so please check that out. I'll try putting a link above so you can subscribe and see similar videos. Lastly, I will add on a little video on the end of this just showing you how to clean your bottles and sterilising, because if you are going through the expressed route, you need to make sure that you are sterilising your expressing equipment and also the bottles that you use. So I will add that right now. Grippy side and a bottle side. So I'm just going to wet that so it's nice and moist. I'm going to grab some Fairy, buffer it up, and then I'm going to go and get my bottle, open it up. So there's quite a few pieces. You've got the main bottle. If you unhook the cap off, you've got the cap. You've then got two pieces here, the brim here, and then the nipple here. So we've got 4 pieces that need cleaning. So starting off with a bottle, especially if you've used it, you want to make sure you've got nice warm water. Give it a good wash, and then using the bottle, which you can see there's a little bit of a hook, is going in and going right round in the corner, right round in the middle, all the way around, and then bringing it up just to the inside of the hook here, all in those curves, and then on the outside, all the way around, all the way, extra little bit in there, same, just turn the water off, same with the brim. So you can do all the bottles in one go, and then I'll show you how we sterilise them after. So really getting right in the creases with the lid, not too much. You can kind of really rinse that. It's not really the part that tends to get dirty, but obviously you want it as clean as possible because that will be up against where the mouth will go. And lastly, the teat. This is a slightly more difficult bit, so always give it a nice little clean on the outside. I normally just press my finger through the middle just so it's got a nice firm grip, and this is where you then use the other side of your brush and take it into the middle of the teat and give it a good rub inside. So this is where the milk flows through from the bottle towards the baby's mouth. So you want to give that a good clean all around with that little bit of a brush, pointy rubbery bit, and then we're ready to rinse that all off. And then most bottles that are used for sterilising, they've got this little dotted line going across the number, so it's different to the other lines, and that's where you want to fill the water up ready for it to be sterilised. Just the one bottle per steriliser. So I'll fill that up to the dotted line, and that's done, and that's ready to go into the steriliser. So here I have my Tommy Tippy electronic bottle steriliser, and it has a big button on the front here. So I'm just going to switch it on at the main plug, and then from here I take the lid off, and inside here you've got space to put all your bottles. There's a little bit here which is a little brim that all the bottles sit in. So you use the bottom of the bottle to place down, and it normally takes about 6 bottles or so. I'm going to use the one bottle we cleaned earlier with the water in, pour that water in and place that one facing down. And then from here, the second layer is this little tray which has the top parts of the bottle in. So we have the lid, I'll show you one close to the camera, the lid, the brim, and then underneath we have the nipple. And again, you've got a little symbol here to remind you. So the nipple, brim, and then the cap, and that sits like a little tray over the top. Get my lid, place the lid on top, make sure it's nice and secure, there's no gaps around, and then all I do is press this button and it highlights, and that means it's in action. Once it's finished sterilising, It will be quite steamy, but this light will turn off and that means it's ready to use. It'll be very hot when you get the bottles out, so be careful. You can use the bottle that you want, put the lid back on, and the bottles in the steriliser will stay sterile until you need to use them.